heart of the Appalachian Mountains, nestled beneath a dense canopy of ancient oaks and elms, lay the quiet town of Willowbrook Hollow. It was the kind of place where life unfolded at its own pace, far removed from the hustle and bustle of the modern world. The town was picturesque, with its cobblestone streets, charming cottages, and a tranquil river winding its way through the valley. But beneath its serene facade lurked a sinister secret. Willowbrook Hollow had always been known for its enigmatic history, and none was more shrouded in mystery than the legend of the vanishing night. Every year, on the night of the new moon, the town would be plunged into darkness as if the very stars above had conspired to hide their light. This was the night when the veil between the worlds grew thin, and the town's unsettling past returned to haunt it. The tale began generations ago when Willowbrook Hollow was first settled by a tight-knit community of pioneers. They were a peculiar lot, with customs and beliefs that set them apart from the rest of the world. Whispers of dark rituals and arcane ceremonies circulated, but nobody dared to question them, for the town prospered under their guidance. One fateful vanishing night, as the moonless night descended, the townsfolk gathered in the town square, their faces concealed by masks of bone and feathers. They danced around an ancient oak tree, their voices raised in eerie chants that echoed through the hollow. It was a night filled with dread, and when the sun finally rose, a dozen townspeople had vanished without a trace. The town was plunged into chaos, but fear kept their lips sealed. Willowbrook Hollow, once a thriving community, began to wither as the years passed. People moved away, and those who remained locked themselves indoors on vanishing nights, praying for safety. But in the present day, a group of fearless teenagers decided to investigate the legend that had haunted their town for generations. Sarah, a determined history enthusiast, gathered her friends, Mark, the tech whiz, Emily, the skeptic, and Daniel, the adventurous soul. Armed with flashlights, cameras, and their collective courage, they ventured into the dark woods on the next vanishing night. As they reached the clearing where the eerie oak tree stood, they were met with a bone-chilling sight. The masked townsfolk appeared, spectral and ethereal, dancing in the moonless night. Sarah's heart pounded as she realized that the legends were real, and she desperately sought answers. The teenagers uncovered a hidden chamber beneath the ancient tree, filled with dusty tomes and forbidden relics. The secrets revealed were more horrifying than they could have imagined. The townspeople had made a pact with a malevolent entity that demanded sacrifices to protect the town. Those who vanished were offered to appease the entity's insatiable hunger. In their quest to break the sinister cycle, the teenagers unwittingly awakened the malevolent force, unleashing a torrent of terror upon Willowbrook Hollow. The town plunged into darkness, and the spectral townsfolk emerged from the woods, seeking revenge for their disrupted rituals. Sarah, Mark, Emily, and Daniel had to confront the sinister entity and the vengeful spirits. With bravery and resourcefulness, they unearthed ancient knowledge to counter the malevolent force. It was a harrowing battle that tested their friendship, wits, and courage. In the end, they managed to seal the entity back beneath the ancient oak tree, breaking the cycle of sacrifice. As dawn broke over Willowbrook Hollow, the darkness lifted, and the masked townsfolk vanished for good. The town was free from its haunted past, but the scars ran deep. The haunting of Willowbrook Hollow became a cautionary tale, a story passed down through generations. The town slowly began to heal, but the memory of that night would forever linger in its cobblestone streets, a reminder that even the most picturesque places can harbor the darkest secrets. Emma Reynolds was a young and ambitious journalist, always on the hunt for a story that would make her career. She had heard whispers about Elderville, a remote and isolated town, where the elderly residents aged at an unnatural and alarming rate. The place was shrouded in mystery, and Emma saw it as the perfect opportunity to investigate and uncover the truth behind the town's eerie reputation. As she arrived in Elderville, Emma was struck by its eerie atmosphere. The town was surrounded by thick forests, and a perpetual gray mist seemed to hang in the air, casting a pall over the aging buildings. The streets were nearly deserted, except for the occasional elderly person who moved with a slow and feeble gait. Her first stop was the town's library, a quaint but well-preserved building that housed the history of Elderville. The librarian, an elderly woman named Agnes, greeted her with a cautious smile. When Emma mentioned her reason for visiting, Agnes's eyes widened with a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Child," she whispered, "you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Elderville has a dark secret, one that we've been trying to keep hidden for generations." Emma was undeterred. She spent days poring over old newspapers, journals, and records, uncovering a pattern of rapid aging among the town's elderly. It was as if they aged decades in a matter of months, their faces contorted with wrinkles and their bodies frail and withered. The town's history revealed countless tales of elderly residents mysteriously disappearing without a trace. One evening, as the mist settled in, Emma ventured into the woods surrounding Elderville. She had heard rumors of an abandoned asylum hidden among the trees. It was said to be the key to understanding the town's curse. The asylum was a foreboding structure, its windows shattered, and ivy creeping up the decaying walls. Inside, she discovered the asylum's records, detailing the experiments conducted on patients decades ago. Dr. Nathaniel Blackwood, a name that appeared repeatedly in the files, had been obsessed with extending life, experimenting on the elderly and vulnerable. His experiments had been cruel and inhumane, leading to the suffering and rapid aging of many. Emma's research led her to a hidden chamber deep within the asylum, illuminated only by flickering candles. In that room, she found an ancient tome filled with incantations and symbols. It described a ritual that, when performed, would unleash a malevolent entity known as the Harvester of Souls. As she read aloud the incantation out of sheer curiosity, the room filled with a cold, sinister presence. The mist outside seemed to grow denser, and the very walls of the asylum whispered with agonized voices. Emma realized that she had unleashed something far more sinister than she could have ever imagined. She hurriedly tried to reverse the incantation, but it was too late. The entity had been awakened, and it hungered for the life force of the elderly. Emma knew she had to stop it and save the residents of Elderville. With the help of Agnes and a few other brave townsfolk, they confronted the Harvester of Souls. It was a terrifying and otherworldly creature, a swirling vortex of darkness that consumed the life force of the elderly, leaving them even more frail and aged. In a climactic battle, Emma and her unlikely allies managed to banish the entity back to the depths from whence it came, sealing the asylum and the dark secrets within. Elderville, though forever scarred by its past, began to heal. Emma's story about the forgotten faces of Elderville made headlines across the country, but she couldn't shake the guilt of what she had unleashed. The town remained shrouded in mist, its history forever marred by the horrors of Dr. Blackwood's experiments. But at least now, the elderly residents could age gracefully, free from the malevolent presence that had plagued them for so long. Elderville would never forget its dark past, but it could finally look to a brighter future. In the heart of rural Appalachia lay the small, forgotten town of Ravenswood. Nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, it was a place where time seemed to have stood still. For generations, the townspeople had lived simple lives, their days filled with the routines of farming and close-knit community gatherings. Ravenswood had always been known for its peculiar weather patterns. The townsfolk often joked that they lived in the valley where the clouds whispered secrets to the wind. However, one fateful autumn, the weather took a sinister turn. A dense, unnatural mist descended upon the town, blanketing it in an eerie silence. The townspeople gathered on the steps of the old white church, their faces etched with worry and confusion. The mist was thick, concealing everything beyond a few feet. But what was more unsettling were the whispers that seemed to emanate from within it. Faint, ethereal voices carried on the wind, speaking words that sent shivers down the spines of anyone who heard them. Elders claimed that the whispers were the voices of those who had passed away, their souls lingering in the mist. The mist was their way of communicating from beyond the grave, seeking resolution for their unfinished business. Some believed this, while others dismissed it as the ramblings of superstition. One resident, Emma, was a young journalist from the city who had come to Ravenswood to escape the noise of her urban life and seek inspiration for her writing. Intrigued by the mist and its whispers, she began to investigate. Her curiosity led her to the town's oldest resident, an elderly woman named Abigail. Abigail lived in a quaint cottage on the outskirts of Ravenswood, and she claimed to have heard the whispers for as long as she could remember. She welcomed Emma into her home, eager to share her stories. As the two women sat by the warm hearth, Abigail recounted tales of lost loves, unresolved conflicts, and tragic accidents that had befallen Ravenswood's residents over the years. Emma's skepticism began to wane as she listened to Abigail's stories. The old woman spoke of a malevolent force that lurked within the mist, a darkness that sought to trap the living alongside the dead. She warned Emma not to venture too far into the mist, for it had claimed the souls of those who had ventured too deep. Determined to uncover the truth, Emma decided to explore the mist herself, armed with a small lantern and a notepad. As she ventured further into the dense fog, the whispers grew louder and more haunting. She heard the sorrowful cries of lost children, the regretful confessions of lovers torn apart, and the angry accusations of those seeking justice. Suddenly, the mist thickened, and Emma found herself disoriented, unable to see more than a few inches in front of her. Panic set in as she realized she was lost, and the whispers surrounded her, their voices now frantic and agitated. She stumbled through the fog, feeling a malevolent presence closing in on her. Just when hope seemed lost, a faint light appeared in the distance. With renewed determination, Emma followed it, praying it would lead her to safety. The light grew stronger, and she soon found herself back on the familiar path that led out of the mist. Gasping for breath and covered in cold sweat, Emma emerged from the fog, realizing that she had narrowly escaped its clutches. She had heard the whispers in the mist, and they were more than mere legends, they were the voices of the restless dead. Emma's experience haunted her, but she knew she had to share her story with the townspeople. The mist held a dark secret, and it was up to Ravenswood to confront its past and find a way to free the souls trapped within the whispers. As the town united to uncover the truth, they would discover that sometimes, the scariest stories are the ones hidden in plain sight, lurking just beyond the veil of mist.